Okay, this new project, what I'm trying to do is convert from drum brakes to disc brakes. Now I have purchased these two rotors, disc rotors, and also this complete brake assembly which shows the handle, each one of the wheel cylinders, and it comes all complete. So this will be my new braking system that will be going onto the airplane. What I have to do now is make an adapter to put the discs where the drum is. First thing we do is remove the drum. Behind the drum we have spacers. So this is going to be trial and error. Drum comes off, spacers come off. Now that leaves me with these bolts, which are going to be too long, so we're going to get shorter bolts. Take each one of these out. By the way, I had to let the air out of the tire because these bolts also hold the tire together. We're going to get shorter bolts. Shorter bolts would be these. Now the idea is to make a disc similar to this that will fit on here using the bolt pattern of the drum, but make it tight to the wheel but not too tight, because we need to put bolts inside of that coming down to be able to match up with these holes that are the mounting holes in the disc. For those we're going to use smaller bolts. These are 5/16. We're going to convert, we're going to still use these, but we're going to use 1/4 inch to mount these. There again, we're going to have bolts in the plate. So the plate is going to have several holes. It's going to have these 3 holes out here to bolt flat. We're going to put washers in between to space it out enough so the heads of the bolts will go here, here, and here in closer to come out through here. So the idea is to get the disc out at the right position so the caliper will still fit down over. Alright, we just had these discs arrive. These are the discs that are going to be the pieces that we're going to use for an adapter. Now we need to take these. We need to find the center point. We're going to drill a hole right dead center. Once we find our center point, then we're going to actually take this disc. We're going to drill out these holes based on center point so that these will fit onto the hub, and then this is going to be also centered to the center point to put these holes 1, 2, 3 so that this plate will mount outside from this plate like that. The caliper will go down over between the two. Okay, here's what we've done. We've drilled a center hole. We're going to be doing both plates at the same time. So the reason for the center hole is to make this round true with center. So we're going to bolt these together, and we're going to use the lathe to true this up as best we can here. Now mount this in here. See how bad it is. Okay, see there's a little bit of wobble there. I slow it down enough so you can really see it. to continue this process till we get it perfectly round. Then we're going to make sure that these holes here that have already been set by the disc is completely round by putting a mark on the side centering the hole, so we can find out exactly where those holes are to be set. Then we'll finish drilling both of those for this. Then after we drill for that, we'll drill for this. So using the lathe, we've actually cut out the center hole. I've got marked all of the holes that are going to be drilled. Now we're cutting out the other one, putting it on the center here. We've already trued it up on the outside, and we're going to be cutting out the center just like we did this one. Alright, so we've got our disc done. Now, on the lathe I also turned from the center before I cut the center out and marked what was dead center on the lathe, and every one of these little black dots that I've got the center on those. So now I know exactly where to put them this way so they'll line up with the holes in here. So now we're going to take a starter punch, center punch, and I'm going to start right on that line, dead center, on each one of those holes, drill them out, and then adapter and put it together. Alright, what I've discovered is when you get the caliper on, it has to go over these. These are recessed so that there's special little screws that go in there. So instead of using these, I've had to make these spacers. Now, these spacers are going to be drilled and tapped, and they're going to go in here so that a recessed screw can go into here into the spacer and into here into the spacer. That way I don't need all the spacer washers. I won't have to clear those heads. I can bolt it right up tight. Okay, in order to make these spacers, the first thing I did is took a piece of raw stock, put it in the lathe, use the drill chuck attachment. In here. Get the right size drill bit. Lock it in. Make a nice flat end. I'm going to set the stock. Hole. I've got the depth set with a mark on the drill. Okay. The next thing that we do, we remove the drill bit. Insert the tap. Now, with this process, I'm only going to start the threads. And then after, what this does is it allows me to pilot it. If you've ever tried to tap a hole, sometimes it goes in at an angle. If it goes in at an angle, it won't go in very deep because it'll go in sideways and jam up and break the tap. So what I'm doing in this particular case is by hand, just going to start this just to get it beginning. And I'm going to back this off which leaves this free to turn by hand. Okay. Next thing we're going to do, we'll need this in here now because we're going to put the piece in the vise in order to tap the whole drill hole all the way down. So now we can remove this, and we can do this for each individual piece. I've got to make 6 of these. 3 for each side adapter. Once we get that started, I've got my caliper measured. What I do is I put it on here for the length, so they all come out the same length. I'm going to start up my lathe. I'm going to hold this in the very end and skive a mark where I want to cut it off. That allows me as a good mark to be able to take my cutter and cut this rod off at the right length so that they're all the same length. So I'm going to use this to come in just on that side of the line and to cut that all the way through. Once that's done, once I get my piece cut off, which would be to there, I turn it around, I do the same thing. I pre-drill the hole, stop the tap, put it in the vise, do it by hand. So we wind up with tapped on both ends, screws are in place. Now I've got to make this fit by cutting these holes to match up. Once I get these cut, you can see that those plates, those adapters on this plate are going to be slightly, so you can see them. Here's the finished one. They come right to the edge. On this side we got plenty of room. So now we're going to be drilling out these 3 holes and then putting the drum on, marking these 3 holes again. I've already got my little line around showing me the center point of the distance from center out to here on each one so that the distance is correct for the holes. Getting them lined up this way is a whole different issue. So what I'm going to end up doing is taking this and I'm going to vice grip so that I can see each skive line and get it centered in the holes where I want them. I'll hook this down in a vise, and then I'm going to pre-drill the holes using this as a guide. Then I'll do the same thing with the drum. I'll put the drum on, and I'll bolt it down, snap it down with vice grips, and then I'll use those holes. And I use these skive marks right here, here. See, each hole area has a scrape to show me from the center out. I did that using the lathe. This would be the last pass. Now what we're going to do is we're going to smooth up the edges here a little bit so we don't get cut. We've made like a razor blade edge here. double check it. I'm going to mount this plate via the screws. And we're going to put it back on and make sure it tracks straight. And hopefully these holes are still deep enough now that we've cut a little bit off. Sometimes we have to tap them in just a little bit further. Double check these. Okay. Let's get this plate out of the way. Just a little tiny bit of a wobble to it. This one right here is still a little bit too long. At least it looks that way. Actually, no, it looks like the plate's warped. That's a little bit better. That's definitely not right. Perfect. Now we've got countersunk screws into a spacer, and these heads now will go right in underneath, and we can bolt this right directly to the wheel. Now we'll still have to use washers maybe to space it out to get to the caliper in the right position, but we won't know now until we put it on the plane. But there's your adapter to change from a drum to a disc brake. Next thing we'll do is get the other side made, and we'll go put it on the wheel and put it on the plane and see what happens. Okay, so here's what I did. I vice grip these together like this. Use these as pilot holes to drill those. Then I took the brake drum, and because we turned these down so it fit inside the drum, I put these in here, and I piloted the holes through here. So that gives us our second disc. Now we're going to assemble this. We'll put it like this. And then again, we're going to put it on the lathe just to make sure that when we get done that it's tracking correctly. So there we go. Now I'm going to go lock this in the lathe. We're going to turn it and make sure that this is tracking the same way as the other one did. Okay, we have finished mounted our adapter. You can see it's mounted in here. We've got all assembled, aired up, ready to go. So that is complete. We've got the other side all made. All we got to do now is go down, put this on the airplane, and then make the adapter for the caliper to bolt onto the airplane axle. There's an existing piece down there right now that has a drum assembly on it. We'll have to cut that off, drill the holes to match the calipers, and get that mounted. Alright, what we've done is we have removed the band. I had to take this piece, grind it off, to make room for the caliper mount that goes on here. Also, I don't know if you can see this or not, but down underneath here, I had to grind this off in order to get the wheel to go on over it. So now, we're going to install the wheel. How this piece right here was hitting. So now it goes on fine. Alright, now around the other side here. And now what we have is our caliper assemblies. As we noticed, this kit came through complete, but guess what? These lines are not long enough. So we're going to have to remove these. We're going to have to use nylon lines to come down through here, go up through to the handle, and we bought a kit for that. This is the plastic line. There are all the fittings that we're going to need. So we have to dismantle these. This is going to mount on here in the front, and then these lines will come off. We're going to capture all our brake fluid and replace it. Okay, here's what we've done. We've got a bracket mounted here to the caliper here, and right now we're putting the brake lines in. Get a little visual here. See, here's the brake bracket. We now have disc brakes. We got the caliper. Now we have to bleed these lines going up, and the control is going to go up on the front handle. Later on, I can actually put another T in with another controller on the back seat if I so wish. So there is our completed disc brake system.